Okay, so we shall begin. So I always like to start the talk with some meditating and just sitting still and doing nothing. So you're welcome to join me for that. If you're watching the recorded version, then of course you can just fast forward to when I start yakking. Fast forward. So with the meditation, people always think that, okay, I've got to meditate to get somewhere. So it always sounds very prescriptive. And in some ways you could say it is. It's like baking a cake. It's like there is like different ways to do it. But the catch is when you're being taught by a non-dual teacher, is the non-dual teacher will point you and get you to question, like, who is the one that believes it's meditating? So the one that thinks, okay, I am meditating and I'm going to get somewhere, and I am doing this, I am choosing to do this. But who is that? Who is the person that's doing that? So it appears like I am giving prescription to you, but actually that's an impossibility. There is things happening and there is an appearance of choice to do it or not do it, but that doesn't mean there's actually somebody there choosing. Like, if we really go into the depth of what it is to be human, choice is a very abstract idea that we have invented. So whenever somebody teaches it from a non-dual perspective, they're not meaning to imply that there's somebody there that could do something to arrive somewhere. The other part is that the non-dual teacher isn't also saying there is somebody that could get enlightened, because who would be this person that would get enlightened? So again, we think we're going to meditate and I'm going to become enlightened. But who would that be? Who would become enlightened? So maybe you believe that who you are is like conditions and habits and ways of thinking, so they'll become enlightened. And I reckon that meditation will calm those down. So meditation will like calm down your habits, your beliefs, your conditions, your suffering. But there isn't actually an entity there that could become enlightened. Like, really, enlightenment already is. There is just an identification with a full structure that believes that it's somebody moving in time, and that creates seeking and that creates suffering. Done. All done. Everyone understands. Now we move on. So when you meditate, it's like baking a cake. You're following instructions and you think that you're doing it, but actually it's a happening. The following instructions happen. And the reason that that's so important is because the predisposition of most people when they come to these talks is that I'm a separate entity and that I'm living my life. But who is living their life and who is this separate entity? Cool. Got that? So now we are going to move on to meditation. There's 3 different techniques I recommend, and there are so many amazing meditations out there. And I'm not saying that these are the best. These are just the ones that I grew up with and I know. So number 1 is the mindfulness of breathing. And this is so simple. All you have to do is count every time you take a breath in. So that when I was taught it was like, as soon as you feel the air going into your nose, you follow it in, up your nose, into your lungs, down into your diaphragm, and then out again. And every time you breathe in, you count 1, and then you count 2, so ascending, 3, ascending, 4, ascending, up to 10. All you have to do is get to number 10, and then you come back to 1. And that's it. That's the whole meditation. And that's called the mindfulness of breathing. And it's really clever, because what happens often is you drift into thought and you still carry on counting. So you get up to like 996 and then you're like, oh crap, I was meant to like start again at 10. It's really clever. And it doesn't mean that you're more happy or you're more free if you keep doing it and you're never going past 10. It's just about attention. And attention doesn't mean enlightenment. Attention just means the ability to focus the mind, and the mind is an instrument. And the reason that that reduces suffering is because often our mind is drifting off into the unconscious, and people have like disturbances in their unconscious often. Like a lot of people have a tendency when they go off into the unconscious to be negative. And so this creates like negative feelings, negative emotions, negative ideas. And so the focusing of attention is bringing it back to the present moment. So you're not just going off into your unconscious and creating these storms inside of you. So for example, you might have like a difficult interaction with your boss at work, and then when you're just like resting, or watching TV or talking to your partner, there's a part of your brain that's thinking about what an asshole your boss is and how dare they do this to you. And all the time your body's getting fired up, creating all these chemicals and all these unconscious stories that you've told yourself a billion times before. So this is simply a technique. It's not going to get you enlightened. It's a technique the same as like cognitive therapy or attachment therapy or behavioral therapy, holotropic breathing, or all different exercises to do to relax the sense of self. But it's not that person that becomes enlightened. That is an illusory self. It's habits and conditions which do this practice. And habits and conditions aren't a separate entity. There isn't somebody there that could get enlightened. They're just habits and conditionings appearing, but there's not this solid entity. And they reduce those habits and conditions, and then more than likely that which is beyond the habits and conditions is seen. But that's not the goal. Like the person's like not going to reduce its conditions and then become enlightened. Like who would become enlightened? Who are you? Okay, so moving on to the next one is the movement to the I am, or to consciousness. So you're just sitting there and you're just moving your attention back to I am, or back to consciousness. So I am, or back to that empty looking. And then the third one, so again, that's again a practice of focusing attention. And then the third one is so simple. All you have to do is sit there and you just let your mind do whatever it wants to do. And unlike the other ones, so the other one is like practicing the focus. The idea of this one is it's like a shaken up fizzy drink, and you're taking the lid off and you're just letting the bubbles settle down. And whichever one you feel attracted to. And I have no problem that either one, that the two different practices are kind of implying different things. So you've got one that is just like letting it do whatever it wants and then it settles down. And then the other one is saying, no, we've got to focus the mind. And through focusing the mind settles down. And I have no problem that they contradict each other. The idea that anybody knows right or anyone knows how it is just an idea. So you pick whatever you feel to pick and whatever resonates for you. You can try different ones. Different days, different things. We just present it and we see what happens. We could do a test statistically, which is better, but which seems to have more effect, but that would be so hard to tell, and in a way is so irrelevant. So we do that. Before we do that, I actually thought that we could do a breathing exercise. This is something that I've never done with you guys before, but it's super amazing. It's just a really simple breathing exercise. I got it from another teacher, obviously. I hope it's okay that it's not copyrighted, this breathing exercise. But I just do it, and if that is the case, then I'll deal with that afterwards. I won't tell you what teacher it's from. Okay, so basically I will do it with you, but I just might mute my microphone at points. So mute it so it doesn't like irritate you, the sound of me breathing. Basically, we're going to breathe in. So big breath in, and then big breath out, all the way to the end of your breath. Big breath in, all the way to your end of your breath. So really feel you breathe into your diaphragm and then really push your diaphragm to push all the air out. And you do that 30 times. And then on the 30th time, or 31st or 32nd, you empty all your air, so all air out, and then hold. So you hold your breath as long as you can with all the air pushed out of your mouth or your lungs. And then it gets even more exciting. And then you hold that for as long as you can. And then after you've done that, you then let go, you take a breath in, and you hold that for 15 seconds. So you take the breath in and hold it for 15 seconds. Okay? So you do 30 breaths in and then pushing all your air out, in and then pushing all your air out. And then when you get to 30, you push all your air out and you hold as long as you can. So till you're at the point where you're like not dying, just you're wanting to suck air in, and then you breathe, take a deep breath in and hold for 15 seconds. If you're prone to passing out, like do this lying down, do it so that you can't hurt yourself, and most probably everybody do it lying down. And if you do decide to sit up and you pass out and you hit your head or you knock yourself or something, I have certainly told you that you should lie down, so you can't come and sue me. So lie down, put cushions around you, make sure you're safe. Even if you think, oh, I won't pass out, or she's doing it sitting up, I'm saying don't do that, because if you have an injury, it's not my fault. And I'm also sorry if you have an injury. I don't want for you to be hurt. Okay. I'll maybe leave my microphone on so you can hear it. So now we begin. That's so exciting. So deep breath in, and we go up to 30. Okay, so now we go into meditation. Hello. Okay, here we go. So the title today is non-duality avoidance? Or can non-duality be avoidance? What was it? Is non-duality avoidance?